Hello, and welcome to the Visual Panel 200 tutorial on configuring your Visual Panel 200 hardware settings. I'm John Wozniak, the product manager for the Visual Panel 200 HMI product line, and this is a tutorial to set the hardware configuration settings on your Visual Panel 200 screen. When you power up your screen, more than likely, you'll have a program running. This is a WAGO Power Grid program. There are two methods to get to the settings. One method is the long press method, which I will show you later. It's currently configured for the 3-press method. That is lower left-hand corner press, lower right-hand corner press, upper right-hand corner press, and it brings up this settings menu. You exit, and it brings up the control center screen. Click on the settings, and you're on the configuration menu for the Visual Panel 200 HMI. The first screen that comes up by default is the server settings. So you have your VNC, FTP, and SSH settings. The next option is your network settings. This is where you can set your IP configurations for your two LANs as well as the USB port. The next setting is the watchdog timer. You can increase or decrease the number of seconds before the watchdog timer times out. The next setting is the sound and display. This is where you can adjust the volume of the beep or the brightness of the screen. Also, if your screen is idle or not functioning with your operator, you can auto dim it or auto sleep it. This is your system time. You can change time manually, cancel, or you can sync it with a network if you're connected to a network, or you can set it according to a time zone. And here we're in Germantown, Wisconsin, which is in the central time zone. You can also set the system language between English or Korean. Now, you do not need the Visual Designer program to program the project on the screen. You can connect an external device such as a USB card to the Visual Panel 200 and then transfer the program to the Visual Panel that way. That's using the external device to the Visual 200. Or if you want to copy what program that's on there now, you can choose to put the program that's on the screen onto a USB card. And in the runtime settings, at the beginning I mentioned the 3-corner press method. Well, there's also a long press method. And when we're done with this settings, I'll show you how to get to that particular long press method. There's the touch calibration to verify and set the settings for the touch on your touchscreen. You can do system maintenance. You can upgrade, downgrade software file, your SWU. You can reset, which clears all the project log and data from the HMI. You can lock your settings. So if you set this password, you cannot get into the settings anymore. And as a warning, this password cannot be reset if it's lost. You can do an application update, and that's when you plug in something into the USB, you can update the application. You can figure out what version is my Visual Panel 200. This version is version 4.2.1, and in a later tutorial, I will show you how to upgrade the firmware and the Visual Designer software. You can also reboot your system just by hitting the restart device. Right now, I'm going to go back to the Visual Viewer and show you how to use the 3-second long press method. Be aware, if there's a image on the screen that's pressable, the 3-press method will not work. Like this one, this is a screen that's pressable. If I press on this screen, it brings up another screen. So the 3-press method will not work on this screen, but it'll work on one of the other screens. The Smart Factory, if I press in the middle of the screen, 3 seconds, brings up that same settings screen. I hit exit, I go to settings, and that's where your long press or 3-corner options are set. And that's your settings and configuring your hardware on your Visual Panel 200. Thank you.